welcome to another episode of Built for This podcast, where, you know, the word built for this says it all. Either you're built for this or you're not. And it comes down to, in life's times when they're the hardest and the struggles are the most crucial times you'll ever experience, what do you grab onto? How do you grab onto? How do you get through those moments and keep going, you know? And I just think in society, we don't talk about the struggle as much as we talk about the reward, and the strength always comes from the struggle. And with that, you know, I would love to bring in a couple sponsors I have. One of them is Magic Flour. So Magic Flour, I've been working on this project for doing R&D for this for, I would say, almost 7 years now. It was a bud finisher, came in earlier, and it did work, and terpene elevations. There was a lot of stuff on that, but we found out that as an IPM and an affordable IPM with all the different botanicals and the structure of this is really working dynamite right now. So we're collecting a lot of testing and data on that. And then the other sponsor I have is Peaceful Pines Hemp. So Peaceful Pines Hemp is an organic hemp company that I met them in Illinois about a year ago, and I was really impressed with the flavors and terpenes and what they're doing on a medicinal level and growing regeneratively. Super important, and I always support those. There's no segregation in agriculture, so let's get that out. And with that, I want to say I am honored to bring in somebody that I call my sister warrior. I'm watching her come through and just go through it. We're talking about built for this. This one's built for this. And she's unstoppable. And because her passion and purpose and drive, I mean, as soon as you meet her and find out more about her, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. And with that, I would love to bring you in. Mollie, welcome to the Built for This podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, super excited to have you here, and just watching you over the last year and what you've been doing and just the struggles. Like, if you want to talk, give everybody a little bit about who you are, maybe, and we can go into some different topics. And I do got some questions for you, but who are you?
I am probably most well known for being a vegan chef in Los Angeles, and I had these vegan restaurants, and I'm going along about my business, you know, thinking that the planet's going to all burn up and we're a plague on the planet. And I listened to a Graham State podcast, TED Talk in like 2013, and I realized I had it all wrong: carbon, soil, everything. And so I decided to buy a farm and start to take all my food waste from the restaurants. And as I connected to nature and connected to the soil and was doing farming for my restaurants, and doing regenerative farming, I realized that animal integration is key. But at that time, I was in a contract to sell my restaurants where we were building, and we were at that time, and we knew we were going to sell. And then 2019, I got a contract for $25 million for my restaurants. So it didn't make sense for me to change the brand to regenerative, even though I personally had started not being vegan, was drinking raw milk, was feeding my kids raw milk, all of that. And basically COVID bureaucracy shut down all of California for 2 years, destroyed that deal, destroyed my businesses. And I lost 2 restaurants during the pandemic. And these are big stores. We're not talking about like a little like a hole in the wall that sells sprout and avocado sandwiches. These are $7 million a year, full bar, brewery, massive restaurants. And I lost 2 restaurants during the pandemic due to the bureaucracy and the just the commitment to shift the wealth away from the independent wealth maker. And I was clearly that. And I was going to close my other 2 restaurants early this year. And I had a thought or a whisper or a guidance that what I believe is right is regenerative agriculture. What I believe is right is supporting American farmers doing the right thing. And it would have no integrity if I just like closed these restaurants and never said that publicly. So on Earth Day 2024, I made an announcement that I was shifting my 13-year well-established vegan restaurants to serving meat. This went over kind of how you imagine it would go over. the vegans got really upset, and I expected it. My dad ate a hamburger in 2018 or 17, and like the Huffington Post wrote about it. My dad owns Cafe Gratitude. It's a vegan restaurant as well. My dad, has I people spit in my brother's face. People called me all type of C words. So I knew that this was coming. But what I expected or I believed, which didn't come, which has been the biggest disappointment and heartbreak of this whole thing, is I expected that the people that want no seed oils and the people that want food without chemicals and the people that want to support local American farmers and the people that want eggs from chickens that got to run free, I thought those people would show up and support what I was doing because I was am the only only regenerative restaurant in Los Angeles. And unfortunately that hasn't really happened. So I'm in like a struggle right now. I don't know what to do. And I'm coming to the end of the runway, and it's disappointing because I did what I believed was right. And I definitely got the message of regenerative agriculture out there. I've been on so many morning shows, so Fox News and Epoch Times and Bon Appetit magazine and Good Morning America and Yahoo News and like everywhere. NPR did a hit piece about how I was lying. So I got the message out there, but unfortunately has not translated into any rewards for my family. In fact, kind of the opposite. And so that's disappointing, but I still believe that I was called to make that choice. And I believe I was meant to have that conversation, have this conversation, and to say like, here, we can't expect farmers to do the hard and good work if the consumer is not going to give up a little bit of their convenience and resilience to support that good work. And so it is a balance. It is a seesaw. And, the other day I was on the phone with a bunch of producers that are all regenerative producers, and they're all, they were like, Mollie, thank you so much what you're doing. We need more people to do what you're doing. And I was almost brought to tears because it's not working. And these farmers need chefs and bakers and butchers and all these different people to say, I want regenerative. I think 5,000 more phytonutrients is important. I think, this guy had citrus, had 39 times more nutrients than the conventional citrus. Like, people need to care about that if they want those options. And so I believe no matter what is meant for my restaurants in Los Angeles, I have my ranch in Texas, and I'm building something extraordinary here. And I believe that people will learn from what I did no matter what, and it will be a benefit to the whole, hopefully. And that's where we are.
I've been through this as an activist for many years, and cannabis I've been fighting the regenerative fight and organics, beyond organics, testing for everything, 15 years ago when there weren't even tests available and people weren't, but going through the activism and trying to set everything up and watching me and a couple other people show up at a podium at city council meetings or state assembly or everything, trying to make a big difference. And you have all these crowds of people cheering you on, but nobody wants to put in the work to show up and stand shoulder to shoulder. So I respect the fight. I understand the fight clearly. And that's why I see you as a warrior. And I want to tell you that, that's good works, and you're making a difference. And the only way we can make a difference to reach the consumer is to educate them. And we have a platform of social media and different talk shows and different things we can do. And, I felt like, 10, 15 years ago, I was completely isolated and alone on this journey. But there's a few of us out there, Mollie, now. So we are building stronger. And with everything that's happening in the world right now, I think our time is right in front of us. So
I agree. And it's interesting, this morning in the shower, I was reflecting this time where things feel like they're crumbling and I'm going to have to get, smaller and build again. And I went through this time. I was a professional marijuana grower for a lot of years. And as the industry was kind of crumbling and reinventing itself as it went from pseudo legal to fully legal, and like all that was happening, and my brother-in-law was getting out of prison, and he was had to live with me, and I couldn't be growing, and he got arrested, I got arrested. It was just like year after year, and I kind of just like, I was like, okay, the Lord is telling me that like I'm not gonna grow marijuana right now, right?
Yeah.
But I went from making a lot of money, doing something well, doing something successful, and feeling like comfortable and good at what I was doing, and then having to build. And then I started with the vegan ice cream shop, which led to Sage, which led to like, and I'm back at that. I'm back at being crumbled down to have to rebuild again. And I was reflecting on, that time, 2005, 2006, as that the marijuana industry was shifting in Los Angeles, and how that was, and how similar it is to right now, and what I'm going through, and how, again, Los Angeles is crumbling, and it's not just marijuana. Like all business is crumbling in Los Angeles. Like it's not. I don't want to say all. That's like hyperbole, but the pieces of the ecosystem of Los Angeles no longer fit together. You can't live in the neighborhood that you work in. You can't how much it costs, for how much food cost is for me. I can't. People don't want to pay $30 for a burrito. So then how I'm trying to cut the cost other places. It's just the pieces don't fit anymore. And that happened with marijuana as 2008 happened, and everybody and their mother decided they were going to be a pot grower, and no loyalty. I was like, hey guys, this is what's happening. Everybody and their mother is going to start growing. We need to band together, because the clinics are all going to sell it for the exact same price. It's 45 and 8. They're not going below that, but they are going to drive our prices down to nothing, because there's this lady. And it was like, I literally knew a judge that was growing weed in his garage because he was going to had, a bad mortgage, that he was going to lose the house. Like everybody and their mother was growing weed in their garage.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, they're going to crush our prices. And they did, and the pieces no longer fit together. And how are you going to pay someone $200 a pound to trim if you're only getting $500? I mean, it just got so crazy, and the pieces didn't fit together. And it feels very similar to that 2008, 2009 time of the marijuana industry in Los Angeles.
It totally does. And for me, I always say there's no segregation in agriculture. I'm plant botanicals, and plants save lives if grown with responsible practices. And I mean, there's just so much we can go into that's going on, but we don't want to do all that right now in a short amount of time. You know what I mean? Down the rabbit holes. But I hear you, and I guess what I'm really hearing is this. I lost a $10 million company. I lost multiple businesses. I lost over $3 million in the last 3 to 4 years in California. I had to move out of the state. I couldn't take the depression, to suicide attempts. I went through a lot of stuff and collapsing and rebuilding. I am the best form of who I have ever been today. And I love myself more than I ever have today. And it's because I'm built for this, for those moments. So I'm hearing you. You're going through the struggle again. You're going through a real one right now, and you're not giving up, and you are fighting through it. What are you grabbing onto? Like, tell us about how are you built for this? Because the normal person couldn't be Mollie right now. It takes a one-off warrior to keep going forward with everything that's coming against you.
I'm just holding everything that I'm grateful for, and everything that I have. It's so easy to go out into the future, and like right now, I could say I only have enough money for this month, whatever, in the bank account, and that's all out in the future. Like so right now, like there's so much abundance. Like I have 5 children and this amazing husband, and I'm in a house with air conditioning, and I'm drinking organic lemon and water, and I'm on a MacBook, and I have an iPhone and a ring light, and I have a hat right there to go out in the sun, and I have 40 cows that I'm moving every 12 hours. And, I got raw milk in my fridge every morning. And you just go into there's so much I do have. And that's true for everybody. There's that Jackie Chan quote where he's saying, whatever my hardship is someone else's dream that they wish that they could have. And so, I mean, like, that is what has me hold on. And I also know that I've crumbled to nothing and been behind on all my bills and been buried by debt. And I've climbed my way out of that. And the truth is, I'm a worker and I'm a warrior and I'm a keep going. So even when I have plenty in the bank, I'm working and I'm building and I'm doing. I'm never like chilling on the beach drinking margaritas. It's not my way. So would I rather be like warrioring and working and struggling with $1 million, $2 million, $5 million in the bank? Yes. Does it suck that I'm like going in like, okay, we'll do this and do this? But that doesn't really matter. I've made and lost money, I think 3 or 4 times in my lifetime. And I remember distinctly the first time I owned a recording studio in Los Angeles. And I don't know how old people are that are listening to this, but music was like so much money in music, and then all of a sudden 2 things happened: Napster and Pro Tools. So those 2 things, Pro Tools made it so anybody could record music at their house, and Napster made it so people could download music on the internet, which now we all think is normal, but back then. So this took the whole money, boom, out of the music industry. I had a recording studio. I was like this child prodigy, not a child, but I'm 21 years old. I own a recording studio with an SSL board and 2 Pro Tools suites. And, I own a house. I'm like crushing it at 22 years old. I got the game rapping on my patio for Thanksgiving, just like freestyling with my friend Focus. Like that was my life, right? And then a year later, I was living in an apartment. Actually, I was living in a house. I was growing weed. That's how I started growing weed. But I had to rebuild everything, sold everything, and started over. And I know that it always works out. And so what I'm holding on to is when that first time it happened, I remember feeling like, wow, I was somebody and now I'm nobody. Like I remember having this distinct thought. I was sitting on Ventura Boulevard at a little cafe eating some breakfast with my brother and my other friend. And we were laughing about stuff from high school, stuff from this friend that we had, and then going through this thing with this girl. And I remember just in that moment, I was young, 22 years old. And I remember thinking like, no matter how much money I had in the bank right now, this will be fun. This will be dope. And so and then through that struggle, I started doing poetry, and then I was on HBO Deaf Poetry, and that was a whole section of my life. So I think out of the hardship comes the necessity, and out of the necessity comes the innovation. And my farm in California, I kept saying I want to do a CSA, and then when COVID hit, I did a CSA because it was necessity. And so I think that when we're comfortable, sure, we're going to build and we're going to grind and we're going to do, but when we're uncomfortable, we have to look at stuff from a different angle, and we have to say, no, I don't have 50,000 to just throw down on that. And I don't have 20,000 to throw on that and 100,000. But it's like, okay, this is what I have. What can I build with what I have? And out of that comes that grind and that innovation. And, I hate to say it because it keeps happening to me, but it keeps happening to me because when I'm up against the wall, maybe I'm my best. When I'm up against the wall, my relationship with God is the strongest. Yes. When I'm up against the wall, I'm praising God. I'm saying thank you for what I do have. And when everything is comfortable, I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm being less grateful. I'm being less present. I'm less using my mental capacity for how can I think, speech, belief, act, and attitude my way out of this situation. And so, it's a reminder. Can I stay as passionate about my mission? Can I stay as passionate about my relationship with creation when I'm comfortable? And that is a question that I would love to answer, to say yes. But I believe I have not been able to maintain that when I'm comfortable. And that's why I believe that I keep coming to these moments.
Me too. Yeah. relearning it. It's like God kicks me back down again. Oh, you got to learn it again. You're going to learn it again until I start learning it. But you said two things that were really important that actually relate to my daily life as well. I don't live in tomorrow. Yesterday's past, it gets no rent in my head. Tomorrow is just anxiety and fear. Faith is today. Tomorrow will be delivered if I walk through today. And the other part that you really hit home with me is you're grateful for the simple things you have. I've learned to write journals and every morning I get up and I write a gratitude list. You're on the gratitude list because you're on today. So I'm grateful Mollie's coming on the podcast, was on there. My kids, my dogs, the birds. I had a pool in the backyard that's swimmable because it's in Arizona in the heat. It just seems like I went in it last night and it was cool enough. It's not a hot tub. Just the stupid little things, food, lights, housing. Yeah, my rent's paid. Or actually, it's not paid, but it's going to be paid, I hope. But that's tomorrow. But, all the simple things. And one of my mentors told me, blew me away, is he said, what if God only gave you, when you woke up, what if God only gave you what you put on your gratitude list? And boom, it hit me so hard. It was such a call of consistency in my life. These are things I have to be, the most important things are the consistency relationship with being grateful and living in today. And what if I didn't do a gratitude list and I was given everything I put on the gratitude list? That's what was going through my head. I'm so grateful I even do the list. And then I was like, I started going back, and this is my gratitude list. I do this thing right here. I don't know if you can see it. I go back and I do gratitude list. I started going back through everything. Bam, bam, bam. Every little thing I put on there, my kids, my dogs, my cats, my plants, the light, all the stuff is all I need. I don't need anything else. I don't need my cell phone. I don't need a car. If the world ends, if I have my gratitude list, and those are the things I receive in life, I'm a home runner right there, so
home run. Yeah. I think about that all the time. Like, I have girlfriends that worked just like me, grinding it out, being a woman entrepreneur, and they never surrendered to family. They never surrendered to a man in that way, where they could surrender. And I just think I'm so lucky. Every time, my first thing on my gratitude list is I was 37. I had my first kid at 37. I've had 4 kids since 37. I had my last one at 45, or maybe not my last one. Who only God knows. But you know what I'm saying? That is always the top of my gratitude list, because I see my girlfriends and I see that missing, that they wish they had prioritized that. And I came to the edge of that time that I could have not prioritized that. And I did, when I had an opportunity to say yes to that. And I did. And I just want to be if nothing else, I have my children and I have my husband, and I'm just so grateful, because I've learned so much. My husband always jokes that he married a liberal and I turned into something else. And that's true. It is true. And that's true to some. And, but I did have to surrender in a way that I wasn't even prepared to know that I was going to have to surrender. But I'm grateful for that every day.
Me too.
Joy of that.
Of being able to turn it over and just keep moving. It's such a relief. And it's just there's so much pressure in life. And when you learn these simple tools, it miracle works in your life. Yeah. Changing gears a little bit, I hear you say a radical centrist, right? I love that. And I don't hear that before. I heard it from you. Can you explain a little bit of how and why to the radical centrist? Yeah.
So I was a liberal, totally brainwashed, vegan chef, Los Angeles, obviously. And I thought, I guess, through whatever brainwashing, I thought I was correct. I was right in my views. And these things started to happen that pressed up against my views. And of course, a lot of people had this happen during COVID. But before COVID, even, I moved to the country because I started farming. And I moved to a street and everybody had Trump signs on their lawn. And I remember thinking, wow, do all these people hate my husband and hate my children? And whatever I had thought about Trump supporters, the crazy, crazy things in my head. I started meeting them, and I have this friend Levi, and and we're good friends. He still lives in California, but I invited him to my birthday party, and he was so cute. He came up to me and he said, "Hey, I think this is a bunch of liberal types here." He was my neighbor, and I said, and he said, "I don't know what should I talk about with the liberal types?" And I said, stick to home birth, organic gardening, homeschool, homesteading, processing your own food. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I love all those things." And then he was like, "But stay away from guns and Trump." And I was like, "Yeah, let's just stay away from guns and Trump." But what I realized in this relationship with him and my other neighbor, Mr. King, I had so much more in common with them than I did not in common with them. And I've always leaned a little I've been pro-life-ish, and not like in a didactic way out in the world. And I'm pro-gun. So I was like, interesting. Like, I think that I have more in common with these people than I thought I did. And so and then when COVID happened, I've never been vaccinated in my whole life for nothing. And I assumed that was a white liberal thing, to be honest. Like, I thought that was a white liberal hippie chick thing. My mom seemed to be a white liberal hippie chick, and that's how I got to be non-vaccinated. And I was just shocked how everybody wanted me to hate. Everybody wanted me to hate everybody that didn't get vaccinated. And I was like, yeah, wait, y'all, I wasn't vaccinated. And then I was like talking to girlfriends that I knew from high school, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't get vaccinated, but I'm going to do this one. I mean, it's the right thing to do." I'm like, what? No, it's definitely not the right thing to do. So that like pushed my mind. And then I'm starting to like listen to all these other things. And I start listening to Tucker Carlson during the pandemic, because he's the only person that's saying it's okay to not be vaccinated. And I'm like, interesting. And then he's talking about interesting things. And I'm like, whoa, he's talking about Ohio and the chemicals in this train. And like, how come nobody's talking about this, and why they're going to try to do eminent domain? They're going to take farmers' land. This is what's going to happen. Project 2030 or whatever it is. They talk about if your land is contaminated, that the government can take it away to clean it up. Sounds so good. And I was like, whoa. And he's talking about that. And I'm like, anybody think this is interesting? At 8:00 on Fox News, he's talking about the CIA is running stuff. No presidents are running. He's talking about Kennedy assassination with CIA. He's talking about chemicals in our water. He's talking about that environmentalism is like not really environmentalism anymore. Nobody thinks it's interesting. People are like, he's racist. And I'm like, whoa, like nobody can hear anything. And I was like, you know what I want to commit to is that I can hear. And
yes.
So even if I now lean more right than left, I want to stay in the center that I can hear you. I want to be able to disagree with you because I disagree with you, not because somebody told me. And I got people telling me Tucker Carlson's a CIA hangout, and then you got people, he's a racist, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Maybe. I haven't heard the racist stuff. I searched for it. My husband's Mexican. All my kids are Mexican. They were like, he hates your husband. He hates all immigrants. I was like, let me listen. No, I didn't hear that. But I don't know if he's a CIA hangout. I have no idea. But what I do know is that he was a point where I could say like, oh, I see you and I feel seen by this person right now during this time when my friends that I have talked to every day for since the 5th grade, since kindergarten, abandoned me because I would not take an experimental injection.
It's crazy. I know.
And in the regenerative movement, where we all totally understand microbiome, understand that nature's got it handled, understand that God gave us plants so that plants can heal us, understand that there's all these systems, the cannabinoid system and the endocrines and the hormones and your lymph, and it's not just one system in your body. We're just going to be jabbing it up. That seems crazy because we all know that that's not a good idea. But somehow everybody was like, it can't be that bad. And it definitely can. They just locked us in our house for 2 years. What do you mean? It definitely could be bad. Definitely could be bad. Like, they didn't tell us, do you guys want to take this thing? They told us we can't come out of our house until we take it. Like, it's definitely could be bad. And And that was when I just said, I don't want to be a blind follower. I want
Yeah.
to listen. And I think that being a radical centrist, and that is a joke because everybody's the radical left and the radical right, but it's also like I want to stay centered in myself to be able to hear with my own ears, with my own mind and my own heart. And then staying centered to that, I want to be grounded to the ground, relationship with the microbiome, because when you have that good relationship with the microbiome, you can trust your own gut because creation is
100%.
in you. And then you hear your own gut saying, that's not it. And you can trust yourself.
That's
And
right.
that's what radical centrism is for me.
I love that. That was great. I've been watching you spit that slogan out, and yeah, total respect on that. And you brought back a few things in garden. I have in Northern California, I had a huge garden center and soil facility, and COVID hit, and they came in and told me I had to shut down, that I couldn't sell soil, I couldn't deliver it, I couldn't do anything in gardening. And it was a few city officials and police department, and without a mask, I walked them right back out the door, told them to get the fuck off my property, that there was no way in hell you're going to shut down the grocery stores and then think you're going to come shut down a guy that's teaching people how to grow their own food. That's not going to happen. Bring your army. Let's do this. Right? They got a few threatening letters over and over, but nothing ever happened. And so I respect, and that's California. I had to go through that as well too. It was very difficult. I don't have that business anymore.
My own employees called OSHA on me. And then OSHA would come and say, we heard that you're not vaccinated and you're in the restaurant. And I'm like, you damn right. I'm at my restaurant. I'm here running my business. I don't know what y'all are doing, not running the business of government. You're shutting everything down. And they're like, but you're not vaccinated. And there's a directive that everybody, I said, it's a directive. So you're directing me to do it, and I'm declining to do it. And I was pregnant. I was breastfeeding for the beginning of the pandemic. Then I was pregnant again. Like, there was no way. And I did one day have a thought, like, because I have a saying, the more you resist, the more it persists. So I played it out in my head and said, like, hypothetically, maybe I am the problem here. Maybe I should just surrender to this thing. And I was like, no, this is not, yes, the more you resist, it persists, has a time and a place when it comes to not exercising enough or whatever. But this is not a place for that. And I asked myself, I tuned in, I checked in, and I got clear. I mean, I was a little afraid of COVID like the first couple of weeks because I didn't know what was going on. And I was changing when I got home before I touched the kids and the baby. And my son ran up to me and hugged me, and I was like, no. And I got so clear download in that moment, like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to instill fear in him. And everything is okay. You are okay. Everybody is okay. This is not real fear. And I heard it, and I took it, and I believed it. My son used to tell people that would come with a mask to the farm. He'd say, the air is fresh out here. You don't need to worry about that. Like, he would tell people.
That's a microbiome. Super important, man. And
important.
I grow soil, and I have one product called King Kashi Compost, and I put really intelligent microorganisms in it, beat all the bad pathogens real quick. Testing comes to 0.00 parts per billion E. coli or bad pathogens, and I eat it. I feed my microbiome. I stick my hand in my raised beds all the way down. I smell it. I lick my fingers. I'm a weirdo, right? I make bokashi products, and I eat probiotics for my gut. It's the most rarest form of medicine you can get. If you think you're going to get health walking into a pharmacy or a CVS and grabbing a bottle of probiotic off the shelf and actually first thinking there's any claims of any probiotics even being in it, let alone the solvents that have been breaking it down to create that tablet, the fillers that are in it, there is nothing healthy in that compared to the raw form of the milk you're drinking. I get my farm box with raw goat milk every week. I love it, right? And if COVID something else, man, I'm a rock star when it comes to that stuff. My body's it's so set and ready to go. It's insane. Like, I'm so healthy inside. When you say listen to your microbiome, your gut will talk to you. You hit the nail on the head, because when you don't have a healthy microbiome, don't listen to your gut. Get yourself in sync and then listen to yourself, man. It's magical. You want to highlight on that? And I talked a lot on that subject, but I love microbiome discussions.
I think it's true. I think it's God, it's creation in you. And that's why they say, trust your gut, listen to your gut. You want to hear your gut. And I mean, I love bokashi. We get spent grain from the distilleries for our cattle, and I inoculate all of it with EM1s prior to feeding it to the animals. And so it's then all the poop is, for the chickens, the cows, everything that's pigs is going through, it's already been inoculated. And you can't believe, okay, spent grain is like sugar, it's protein and sugar. It gets so bad and rancid so quick.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, by pouring 1 cup, you don't even have to activate it, of EM1s on a 2,000-pound tote, and you cover it with plastic for a few days, literally it smells like Raisin Bran. No bad smell at all. Like, and I'm like, it's 100 degrees here. And if you can keep the flies out of it, that's the only thing. And then I'll like eat it, and people are like, that's disgusting. Like, it's just sitting here wet outside. And I was like, yeah, and it's totally fine. It's like all good bacteria. The cows are going to eat it, and they're going to poop it out, and it's going to go into my soil, and it's going to go into my greenhouses. And I eat soil, and people will be like, you could get some kind of whatever. And I'll be like, okay, thank you. But we're so terrified of pathogens anyways. We're terrified of poop. We're terrified. And the universe, God, the world, the earth, it all has the technology to deal with these things. Mm-hmm. It's not like we're all going to, and yes, you can't just shit in the river and then eat it and not get dysentery. Like, somebody's going to comment like, oh, he's dead. No, that's not what I'm saying. But we don't have to be scared. When I bought this ranch in Texas, they said, oh, the well has coliforms. And I was like, yeah, well, it's been vacant. The property's been vacant and we're gonna treat the well. We're gonna shock it. I was like, I'm okay. I'm just gonna run the water for a day, and then we'll test again. And of course, nothing is there. Like, it's a 400-foot well. Like, what got down there? It obviously was something in the tube, right? And so, but we're terrified. People are like, oh no, you need to shock it. I was like, no, I'm cool.
I know.
I don't want to drink bleach. I'm cool. Thank you.
So EM1, this is awesome. I do my Kinkashi compost. That's where the intelligent microorganisms. I put 30,000 gallons of fermented EM1 on 1,100 yards of highly sourced, everything super tested, every input that goes into those piles. And then I turn that and I keep the temperature about 140 degrees or less. And it's a super you want to talk mycelium? The super mycelium mats, it's crazy. And that's what I'm talking about. And so all that intelligent microorganisms outperforms the bad pathogens. You know, I wouldn't eat it if I didn't have that intelligent microorganisms, because I know, right? I'm feeding my microbiome. I'm not trying to shit for 2 weeks. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to clean my colon out, all the poplets. I don't want cancer. Like, these are real things in health. And the exact same concept of your biological values and fungal values in your gut are the same dynamic and structure in the soils. When your soil
compatible, 70% compatible. And people don't realize that, and they don't think about it. And it's obvious. We were meant to eat food of the soil. We were meant to eat out in nature. And right now, all of our food is sterile. We have an epidemic of an industrial sterilized microbiome.
Yeah, and they want us that way.
It starts with C-sections, formula, and then it just keeps going. Vaccination. There's a doctor who was pro-vaccine. She was a internal doctor. And so she was like, you know what? I'm really interested about how people's poop is going to be pre-vaccine and post-vaccine. She was not anti the vaccine. She was just a scientist and on her, information, wanted to know for herself. And every single person that got the COVID vaccine and gave her the shit samples pre and post the poke,
Yeah.
there was zero bifida, which comes from our breast milk. And it's really important. It's important for losing weight. It's important for so many different things. And then she went to Whole Foods and was like, I got to get bifida because I have no bifida, which we now know, like, everybody that got those mRNA things have no bifida. So everybody needs to be building their bifida. And she went and tested, and just like you were saying, this goes back to what you're saying, I'm not just on a tangent, I can't remember, I think she bought 13 probiotics. Only 3 of them actually had bifida in them. Yep. And the other ones didn't. And so she was like, you got to ferment foods. You got to do these other things because you're not going to get it just from a capsule in the store. And she was talking about making sauerkraut or kimchi or yogurt and all these different things. But we literally have completely also moved away from fermented foods. And so we have all packaged foods, all sterile, all our vegetables are being HPP or dipped in bleach. And then where's the kimchi? Where's the sauerkraut? Where's the sourdough bread? Cheese is the one fermented food kind of in wine and some vinegar. Some people do the live vinegar, but we're really, really low on fermented foods. I believe that you want to have a fermented food with every meal. So I make tons of gallons of fermented hot sauce this time of year when we have tons of chilies, and then it lasts all year. But I think you want to have fermented foods with every single thing that you're eating. Yeah, it doesn't want to be just like a special occasion.
Yeah. Awesome. They're saying I got to wrap it up. There's so much I need to talk to you about. Started. I know. There's so much we need to talk about. There's so many questions that I have for you as well. But with that, I guess I just want to say, man, I'm really grateful to have found you. I'm working on a regenerative, like a 3-day summit I'm planning next year with paid speakers and stuff coming out. I want to bring you in as a speaker into that.
Where are you doing it?
Well, we were looking at New Mexico was one, and then there's one in San Diego out of like a homestead kind of community that I'm looking at in San Diego. Okay, well, let's talk. Okay, let's do it there. I haven't picked a spot yet. Yeah, I got some really. This is awesome. So
look on my website. We did Confluence. I'd love to speak at whatever you're doing. I'll travel to wherever you are. But if you want to do it on an awesome regenerative farm with a regenerative restaurant on the farm,
yes,
we have 40 beds with air conditioning, and then we can bring in.
We're on it. It's done.
So, Sovereignty Ranch.
Amy and I have been Sovereignty Ranch. That's right. That's awesome. Yes. Okay. Great. That's great. I'm glad I said that. And I know Amy and I were wanting to come out and do one of your homesteading classes that you're offering. You want to just talk real quick on that? So I wrap up.
It's happening this week. We're having a homesteading course, and it will happen again in April. We do a lot of education here on the ranch, all different things. But the homesteading course is also going to be recorded this week. And so you'll be able to purchase it on our website, sovereigntyranch.com, if you want to just be able to watch it at home and do the different sections by yourself. And we are really here to educate people on why food is medicine, why microbiology is worth saving, and why we need to slow down and go back to the old ways in order to stop this merge with the machine that is happening. So
it's awesome.
Definitely check us out, sovereigntyranch.com and Sage Regenerative Kitchen in Los Angeles.
And none of this would be going on if we weren't going through the times that created Built for this, right? Like you'd be in your restaurant, there wouldn't be all this other stuff. So yeah, and if you ever need a speaker, I'm your dude right here. Like I am definitely part of the team, and I'm good on I'm good with a camera on podium with a mic in my hand. I could talk.
Excellent. I'll reach out to you. We definitely have a lot of stuff going on, so that would be awesome.
Great. Well, again, welcome to Built for This podcast. Thank you for coming in to Built for This podcast. I got a sister warrior in the house right here. That's exciting because when you find your people, there's not a lot of us. But now all of a sudden you're starting to pull them out and seeing them all over. And we have an army and we have a mission, and our purpose is clear and divide, right, of where we're going and what we're going to do. And sometimes it takes, God to break us down, to redirect us and put us in a different direction where we all come together to do God's work instead of our work. And I believe that's part of this process right here. So, Mollie, thank you for coming on the show with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was amazing. And this is the beginning of a long and fruitful friendship. Absolutely.
Man, what a episode that was. Mollie rocked the house. It was super great to have her on here. Just the energy, and we just touched on a little bit of stuff that we are working on, and I can't wait to have her back on the podcast. And most of all, man, the podcast can't go on without our sponsors. Sponsors are super important to me, us, and moving forward. This Built for This agenda that we have and going out in the mindset of regenerative world, stories only get told if I have sponsorship to help pay for some of this. And two sponsors I have right now, other than Big Root Soil from the Soil King, we have Magic Flour. Magic Flour is a great product that I've been working with for about the last 7 years that's really coming around into an IPM. Super clean, affordable IPM. So there's more talk on that. That's this one right here. And then Peaceful Pine Hemp out of Illinois. Man, they're growing in organic soil. They're doing it regeneratively. The flavors, the terpenes, everything on the plant. I love it when people grow hemp for flour. Like, it's easy to grow industrial hemp. People do it all the time. But when you can make hemp produce health benefits on a wellness side of this and also have a terpene expression that just blows your mind, that's what I look for. So gratitude for having them part of the team as well. Thank you again for coming and checking in. Hit the subscribe button. Well, I need you to subscribe. So subscribe and comment below. Give gratitude and thanks for Mollie on this episode. Thank you again. We'll see you on the next one. Boom.